Good afternoon. Welcome to another exciting edition of Reading with Mr. Eble. We're going to keep on going through Grenade. See if we can get it through between now and the end of next week. So today we're going to be reading a chapter about Hideki called Mabui. Mabui? I don't know. We'll figure out how to say it by the end. Hideki's hands were so sweaty, he worried the grenade he held would slip right out of his grasp. He wiped a hand on his jacket and nodded to Katsumasa, who was a few yards to his left. All the boys were hiding behind whatever bushes and tree trunks hadn't been destroyed by the offshore bombardment. As a group, they crept forward, drawing closer to where they had heard someone crashing through the undergrowth. Hideki strained to catch every sound, every movement. Yoshio waited for everyone to stop, and then Hideki heard it, the crunch and snap of heavy footfalls on the forest floor. Someone was coming. Footsteps got louder, more urgent, and Hideki heard a man's breath. This is it, he thought. This is my moment of glory. But Hideki didn't feel glorious. His stomach was tied up in knots and he could barely breathe. He wasn't even sure he could stand. One of the boys jumped out from where he was hiding and yelled, "Banzai!" and more of them did the same. Hideki borrowed some of their courage and leapt to his feet, ready to strike the fuse of his grenade and throw it at an American soldier. But it wasn't an American soldier. Huffing along the trail was Norio Kojima, the school principal. The portly man's uniform was muddy and torn, and he hugged a tall canvas sack to his chest. Principal Kojima cried out in surprise as the boys all popped up screaming and brandishing grenades, and he tripped over his own feet and fell to the ground. The sack broke his fall, but something inside it shattered and snapped. Framed pictures spilled out onto the forest floor. "No, no," the principal cried. "Principal Kojima?" Hideki said. Luckily, none of the boys had activated their grenades, and now they all hurried to help the principal to his feet. "The Emperor! The picture of the Emperor!" Kojima said. "Some of them have been damaged." Hideki picked up one of the framed photographs that was still intact. It was a picture of Emperor Hirohito. A portrait of the emperor hung in every room at the school. Hideki and the other boys had to bow to the picture and the Japanese flag every time they came or went. Principal Kojima must have collected every one of the portraits and stuffed them into the sack. Principal Kojima scrambled to collect the other pictures. "It is my sacred duty to protect the divine emperor's photographs," he said. "I'm taking these north to the Imperial Photograph Guardian Unit. The emperor's spirit must be protected." Hideki had never seen Principal Kojima so frantic, and it scared him a little. He could tell the other boys were frightened too, but Hideki understood the principal's concern. A person's spirit, what the Okinawans called "maboi," was like his soul. It's what made you who you were. Everyone had a maboi, including Hideki. A maboi was immortal and transferable. A ring you inherited from your grandmother might have her maboi in it. A watch your father had owned might still carry his maboi. He could even lose your maboi if you weren't careful. Might be maboi, might not. I don't know how to say it. In pictures, whether they were drawings or photographs like these of Emperor Hirohito, they carried part of a person's maboi in them too. So it was like each of these photos was a little piece of the emperor's soul. It was the maboi of Hideki's cowardly ancestor, Shigetomo Kaneshiro, that still cursed every third generation of Hideki's family. Hideki's own maboi shared space inside him with the spirit of Shigetomo. As long as Shigetomo's spirit was still restless, Hideki would never know peace and could never truly be himself. Hideki's sister had tried to help him with Shigetomo's maboi in her official role as a Yuta, but Komoko had always had more success with other people. Once, Hideki remembered, he had gone with her on a house call to a family with a young boy who kept getting in trouble at school. That day, Kimiko had worn a white boshifu, a lightweight banana fiber kimono that matched the streak in her hair. "Shinsei keeps getting into fights," the boy's mother had complained. "I have to bring him home at least once a week. His older brother Ichiro never got into trouble like this." Shinsei was a scruffy, surly boy of 7 with a thin trickle of snot running down his dirty face. Hideki thought he looked like trouble, but Kimiko smiled at the boy and talked to him like an adult. "Have you been having bad dreams, Shinsei?" she asked him. Shinsei frowned and looked away. In the next room, a baby cried, and Shinsei's mother got up to see it. "Shinsei?" Kimiko tried again. "Yes," the boy grunted. "A female wolf comes and chases me out of the house and won't let me back in." "I think I understand," Kimiko said. "Hi, Eric Velasquez. How are you?" "You do?" Shinsei asked. "You do?" Hideki asked. He was confused. None of it made any sense to him. "The wolf in Shinsei's dream represents a female ancestor born in the year of the dog," Kimiko explained. "When Shinsei's mother came back, Kimiko asked her if there was someone matching that description who had been a troublemaker in the past. Yes, my Aunt Tashi, the mother said. My mother's middle sister. She was always running around with boys my grandfather didn't like. Oh, the fights they would have. Kimiko nodded. Shinsei has his great aunt Toshi's Maboy on him. She's still acting out through him. Go once a week to the family tomb where she is buried, just the two of you, and perform the ceremony I teach you. You got all that from his dream about a wolf? Hideki asked later as he and Kimiko walked. Kimiko grinned. Well, not all of it. Being a Yuta is about listening to our ancestors. It's about paying attention to the living too. Did you hear the cries from the other room? There's a new baby in the house, and his mother mentioned an older brother, which makes Shinsei the middle child. The oldest brother has all the responsibility, and the baby gets all the mother's attention. Shinsei doesn't have a role in the family anymore, so he acts out to get any kind of attention, even if it's negative attention. He probably doesn't even know he's doing it. But now he and his mother will spend time together once a week, walking back and forth to the family tomb, perform a ceremony together, and Shinsei will get lots of attention without having to get into trouble. Hi, Darren Cole. So all that about his great Aunt Tashi, you just made that up? Hideki asked. Kimiko smacked him on the head. No, her boy really is on him. She was a middle child too, didn't you hear? She probably went through the same thing, only there was no Yuta to send her on her long walks to the family tomb with her mother. She never got over it. Kimiko's voice grew quiet. I hope Shinsei's trips to the family tomb with his mother will bring both him and his great Aunt Tashi peace in the end. Hideki still had trouble understanding it all, but his sister seemed to know what she was talking about. I'm a middle child too, and I never acted like that, he said at last. That's because you have a different Maboy to worry about, Kimiko told him. One Hideki would have to wait a little longer to appease. Got to get these pictures to safety, Principal Kitimo was saying now. Hideki watched as he stuffed the last of the Emperor's portraits back in the bag and stood up. Remember to fight and die for your country with honor. We'll meet again in the afterlife, he told his former students and ran off. The boys were debating whether to return to the cave or to keep looking for American soldiers when Yoshio perked up. Do you smell that? He whispered. A delicious aroma tickled Hideki's nose, and he turned into the wind and sniffed. Somebody nearby was cooking something over a campfire. Something good. Hideki hadn't eaten meat in ages. All the meat in Okinawa now went to the Japanese soldiers. His mouth watered at the tasty smell. Some of the other boys had picked up on it too, and they smiled at each other. Hideki's stomach growled eagerly, but he didn't smile. The smell of roasting meat could mean only one thing. Americans, he whispered. The next chapter is Ray. It's called Barbecue, which I'll be doing this weekend. Ray sat apart from the other Marines, watching them laugh and talk as they ate the barbecued pig. His squad had met up with the rest of Easy Company, strength in numbers, as they set up camp for the night. From the safety of their foxholes, they were all sharing in the feast Ray had prepared. He was the man of the hour, but he didn't feel much like celebrating. He just watched Billy Lineker get shot right in front of him. So had the other men in Ray's squad. How could they be joking and enjoying barbecue just a few hours later? Sergeant Meredith sat down on the edge of Ray's foxhole. You did good today, Sergeant Meredith said, flushing that sniper out. Flushing that 12-year-old boy out, Ray thought. That little kid. You okay with it? The sergeant asked. The sniper, I guess, Ray said. As surprising as it was that the sniper was just a kid, Ray understood why they had to kill him. This was a war. It was kill or be killed, and the kid had killed one of theirs. But the way Big John had done it, so easily, so casually. But that wasn't even what was bothering him the most about the day. And hard luck, Sergeant Meredith said, as though he could read Ray's mind. Ray huffed. I don't understand. He raised his chin at the other men. Don't they care? They do care, yes, said the sergeant. So do I. But it's fate. Either you have a bullet or a mortar or a grenade with your name on it, or you don't. That bullet finds you and we mourn, but we have to move on. Nothing else we can do. But it just seems so heartless, Ray said. It is, Sergeant Meredith said. But Marines like me and Big John and the old man, this isn't our first rodeo. We've seen a lot of good men die. If we mourned every one of them the way they should be mourned, we'd go crazy. The sergeant rubbed a callus on his palm. The same place Ray's rifle had given him blistered during basic training. We had to let our skins harden up so we don't feel it as much. We can't, or it'd hurt too bad. You ever see a guy with that 1,000-yard stare? You know it's getting to him. Hi, Anthony and Noah Vasquez. It's a blast from the past. So, hi, Miss Rocha. Ray had seen that stare before in his father's eyes, like he was focused on something, a long way off that nobody else could see. Ray knew that when his pa had been remembering his time in the First World War, over in his foxhole, the old man was doing it now. Starks, grab me a hunk of that pig, will you? Sergeant Meredith called to him. The old man shook himself out of the stare and grinned. Sure, Sergeant. Sergeant Meredith glanced at Ray, and Ray understood. Third Lieutenant found them and told Sergeant Meredith that scouts had reported a possible enemy cave nearby. Send a team to check it out while we got some daylight, the lieutenant said. Sergeant saluted and called Big John over. Big John, take Gonzalez and Barbecue here and a couple of the other rookies and show them the ropes. And just like that, Ray had a nickname, Barbecue. The cave was a quarter of a mile away from camp, very close to a steep cliff that ran a long way down to the sea, where waves crashed against big rocks. It was a natural cavern with rock walls and a dirt floor. The entrance was about half as tall as Ray and overgrown with moss. It was pitch black, just a foot or two inside. There's no telling how far it went back into the hillside, or if anybody was hiding inside. Someone going in there? Gonzalez asked. You kidding? Big John said. We're going to flush him out. Rifles ready. Big John took a grenade from his belt, pulled the pin, and chucked it inside. Ray raised his rifle to his shoulder and aimed at the entrance. The explosion shook the ground, and smoke billowed out from the entrance. Inside, there were screams. Ray's heart raced, and he shuffled his feet nervously. Suddenly, people came screaming out from this cave, and Ray's finger tightened on the trigger. But it was a woman holding a baby, and the next target Ray swung to was a little boy, then an old man. Wait, wait, Ray cried. They're Okinawans, civilians. The Okinawans kept coming. 10, 15, 20, Ray lost count. He watched as the people ran away screaming from the Marines. They went straight for the edge of the cliff and raced back and forth along the edge of it, looking down like they were trying to find some path to escape. But Ray and the other Marines had walked along that ridge to get here. It's just a long fall into rocks and trees. The grenade going off must have spooked them, Ray thought. He fished out his Japanese phrase book and tried to find something that would calm them down. Hidoi koto washimasen? He tried, walking closer. We're not going to hurt you, he said in English. The women and children wailed as Ray got closer, sobbing like it was the end of the world, and Ray wondered if he was saying it wrong. Then the whole lot of them stepped off the cliff. Ray blinked and his stomach dropped. 1 second they had been huddled there in fear. The next moment they were just gone. No, Ray cried. There's no way they could have survived the fall. Jumpin' Jehoshaphat, Big John whispered. Why in the name of God would they do that? Gonzalez asked. None of them had the answer. Ray double-checked his phrase book. He hadn't said anything wrong. But for some reason, the Okinawans had been so terrified of him and the other Marines that they had killed themselves rather than be captured. Well, better that than one of them coming up with a grenade and trying to blow us up, Big John said. Let's make sure there aren't any more of them in there, and then get back and get some of us more of that pig before it's gone. Ray followed Big John into the cave, but he wouldn't be eating any more barbecue tonight. Ray had lost his appetite. So we'll stop there. So again, we'll be posting these up on our Keller YouTube channel, so if you missed any of the previous ones, we'll keep on reading every day at noon. So students, keep working hard. You got 2 more weeks left of school. Just do the best that you can. Keep taking care of each other. Most importantly, stay safe. And remember, Rangers of the way.